Have you ever walked into a room full of knowledge, full of insight, and watched the most oblivious man take command with nothing more than certainty in his voice and ignorance in his head? Have you wondered why, in a world that rewards vision and strategy, it is often the fool who gains power, while the wise man is left speaking only to himself? You are not mistaken in your observation. This is not a glitch in the system, it is the system. There exists a dangerous assumption in our modern world that intelligence alone will rise, that truth will out, that capability will be recognized and rewarded on its own merit. But history offers no such promise. In fact, it suggests the opposite. The greatest minds have often died unknown, while the most mediocre men have ruled nations, shaped ideologies, and rewritten reality in their image. Why? Because intelligence, when fully revealed, becomes a threat to those who cling to illusion, and illusion is the currency of power. It is no accident that power finds comfort in ignorance. Ignorance can be controlled, directed, manipulated. Intelligence asks questions. It hesitates where others rush forward. It sees the edges of things. It notices the fault lines beneath grand declarations. And worst of all, it reminds others of their own inadequacy. A truly intelligent man becomes a mirror to the powerful, and the reflection is often intolerable. That is why you must learn to play dumb. Not because you are, but because you understand the rules of the arena in which you move. Because you recognize that if you wish to build influence in a world that distrusts depth, you must first conceal yours. To show your full hand in a game ruled by illusion is not honesty, it is suicide. Niccolo Machiavelli did not write for idealists. He wrote for those who wished to survive the blood-soaked courts of Florence, for those who knew that principle without strategy leads to ruin. He saw what others denied. That perception governs reality, and to be feared or underestimated is often safer than to be admired for virtues others do not understand. The man who appears too clever invites resistance. The man who appears confused invites disclosure. Power often hides behind performance. So too must wisdom. The fool who listens is more dangerous than the genius who speaks. The one who is underestimated has room to move, while others expose themselves. The wolf in shepherd's clothing eats well. To play dumb is not to be silent. It is to speak in ways that do not provoke fear. It is to ask questions rather than answer them. It is to let others believe they lead, while you navigate the path beneath them. It is to occupy the second row of power, where influence is real and blame is minimal. It is to let the spotlight blind someone else, while you remain in the shadows, shaping the scene. This is not deception in the sense of fraud. It is discipline, restraint, an understanding of timing. As Machiavelli wrote, men must either be caressed or annihilated. There is no middle ground in political combat. Therefore, to survive, to build, to thrive, you must make yourself unthreatening until you are strong enough to strike. Consider Caesar. Before he crossed the Rubicon, he was dismissed by the Senate as another ambitious general. He played the role of servant to the Republic while building loyalty in silence. Or recall Deng Xiaoping, who survived purges and prison, not by defying Mao openly, but by appearing broken, then rising from the ashes with a plan already written. The master strategist does not shout. He waits, he nods, he learns what others reveal in their arrogance. Fools declare. The wise man waits. Intelligence that announces itself is not intelligence. It is ego. And ego in a world ruled by power is a target. The man who must tell you how brilliant he is, how capable, how virtuous, is already lost. He is trying to convince himself. True power never explains, it acts. This is why those who are truly dangerous often appear simple, because they understand that power does not come from display, but from direction. You guide the river by shaping the banks, not by shouting at the water. To play dumb is to create space. It allows the prideful to overreach, to speak more than they should, to reveal plans and weaknesses in the hope of impressing you. They do not fear you, and that is your greatest strength. Because the moment someone fears your intelligence, they begin plotting against you. But if they think you are harmless, they speak freely. They bring you into the room. They lower their guard. It is then that the real work begins. You are not there to be right. You are there to win. Do not waste energy proving yourself to those who cannot comprehend you. Do not reveal depth to those who seek only spectacle. Let them think you are slow. Let them mock your silence. Let them smile as they walk ahead. Then take their place when they fall. They will fall, make no mistake, for power, when held by the incompetent, eventually devours itself. It is unstable by nature, insecure at its core. The man who rises by illusion must maintain it without rest. He must protect a facade built on sand, constantly reinforcing what he knows is fragile. That kind of rule exhausts itself, and when it does, it leaves behind a vacuum, a silence, a moment, and that moment belongs to you, if you have waited wisely. But to wait wisely is not the same as doing nothing. To play dumb does not mean you are idle. It means you are listening, watching, collecting. It means you are building leverage in silence, identifying alliances that will matter later, storing knowledge that can shift the balance of a room without a raised voice. Those who chase visibility often ignore power. You, on the other hand, understand the difference. You are not here to be noticed. You are here to control what others notice. The instinct to demonstrate your value is natural, especially for the intelligent. From childhood, intelligence is rewarded with recognition. In school, it earns praise. In conversation, admiration. But in the real world, intelligence is not always rewarded. Often, it is resented, because it threatens the illusions others depend upon. It casts light where shadows are useful. It asks questions when others want obedience. And the reaction to such disruption is not applause. It is resistance. This is why many intelligent people fail to rise. They assume that brilliance speaks for itself. It does not. In fact, brilliance that speaks too loudly often gets silenced. But brilliance that whispers, that adapts, that disguises itself until the right moment, that is dangerous, that is transformative. Machiavelli understood this. Long before psychology gave it a name, he saw how people respond to appearances over substance. Men judge generally more by the eye than by the hand, he wrote, for everyone can see, but few can feel. Meaning, it is not what you are, it is what they believe you are. Appearances are not the enemy of power, they are its foundation. So why do so many intelligent people refuse to manipulate appearance? Why do they cling to transparency, to truth, even when it costs them influence? Because they confuse integrity with exposure. But there is a difference between being honest and being obvious. You can live by truth without revealing every detail. You can speak with clarity without speaking everything you know. The wise man holds truth like a sword, drawn only when it matters. This too is part of playing dumb. It is not about lowering your intelligence, it is about raising your control. When you speak, speak less than you know. When you listen, listen more than they expect. When you act, act decisively but without drawing attention to the source of your strategy. Let the outcome speak. Let others take credit if they need it. The power lies not in being praised, it lies in knowing you engineered the praise. Playing dumb is especially critical in environments filled with ego. In courtrooms, in boardrooms, in bureaucracies, everywhere that pride governs decisions, intelligence must learn to kneel before power, only to rise when power stumbles. In such places, a brilliant mind that bows is often allowed in, but a brilliant mind that challenges is quickly cast out. And if you think this is cowardice, you have misunderstood the art. This is not surrender. It is positioning. It is the move before the move. The greatest kings were once humble courtiers. The most feared generals once walked silently behind louder men. Their moment came not because they demanded it, but because they were prepared when it arrived. The man who knows he is capable but does not rush to prove it owns a rare strength. He is unburdened by the need for validation, and that makes him unreadable, mysterious, and therefore powerful. For power is not always about force. Often, it is about restraint. A mind that can hold back its brilliance commands more respect than one that cannot help but shine. Consider the example of Odysseus, the cunning Greek hero. He survived where others fell, not because he was the strongest, but because he was the most adaptable. He feigned madness to avoid war. He disguised himself to reclaim his throne. His mind was sharper than any blade, but it was sharpest when hidden. He played the fool to disarm his enemies and struck when they were most vulnerable. This lesson is eternal. Intelligence is not a crown to be worn at all times. It is a dagger, concealed until needed. Flash it too often, and it will be taken from you. Keep it sheathed, and it will keep you alive. So the question is not whether you are smart. The question is whether you are smart enough to appear otherwise, whether you can step back while others chase the flame, whether you can let them underestimate you long enough to hand you their weapons, whether you can endure the insult of being ignored because you know that you are not forgotten. Those who play dumb by choice are not weak. They are architects. They build empires behind curtains. They write the scripts others perform. They do not need the credit. They need control. And once they have it, they decide who receives the glory. There is a certain elegance in being misunderstood. It gives you room to maneuver, freedom from scrutiny, a mask behind which power can grow unnoticed. While others posture and perform, you observe. While they announce their intentions, you shape yours in silence. The world rushes to praise the visible, but it is the invisible that moves it. To play dumb is to master the art of camouflage in human form. It is to blend into environments that would otherwise reject you, to speak in tones that calm rather than provoke, to ask questions that guide rather than challenge. It is to let others feel superior, not because you believe they are, but because you understand how fragile superiority truly is. The moment a man believes he is above you, he begins to reveal himself, and in the realm of power, information is the first conquest. When a predator stalks its prey, it does not roar. It waits. It blends. It studies the terrain. So too must the intelligent mind operate in spaces dominated by ego and noise. You do not rise by entering the arena with your weapons drawn. You rise by entering with no weapons visible. The others will think you are unarmed. That is when you are most dangerous. Machiavelli wrote, "Not for the pure, but for the aware." He saw virtue not as an absolute, but as a tool, something to be used when advantageous and set aside when necessary. Playing dumb is one such virtue, a performance of simplicity in service of a greater design, a willingness to endure condescension now for the sake of dominance later. It is a slow war, but one with higher odds of victory. Think of the environments where power is accumulated: governments, corporations, religious institutions, military hierarchies. In nearly all of these, open intelligence can be punished. It threatens the hierarchy. It exposes the faults of leaders. It asks uncomfortable questions. So the wise man learns to speak carefully, or not at all. He lets others believe they are in control, while gradually shaping the space around them. There is no shame in letting someone else feel clever. Their need for recognition is your opportunity. Their desire to appear dominant blinds them to the subtle shifts beneath their feet. The man who plays dumb in such spaces is not surrendering. He is setting a trap. History is filled with such examples. Consider Zhu Zhilang, the Chinese strategist who feigned weakness to lure enemies into overreach, or Cardinal Richelieu, who operated as a mere advisor while holding the true reins of France. Their intelligence was never fully on display. It did not need to be. Their results spoke for them, and those results came because they chose not to provoke power, but to guide it. In our time, the principle remains the same. In a meeting, it is not the loudest voice that controls the outcome. It is the quiet voice that asked the right question, planted the right seed, and let others think it was their idea. Influence grows in the cracks of other people's certainty. But to reach those cracks, you must be invited in. And no one invites the threat. They invite the harmless. They invite the agreeable. They invite the fool. But you are no fool. You are simply acting like one. And that is the most intelligent move of all. Modern society values visibility. It confuses activity with achievement, noise with insight, popularity with competence. In such a world, playing dumb can feel counterintuitive. But remember, your goal is not to be seen. Your goal is to be effective. Visibility is useful only when it amplifies power. If it invites opposition, it is a liability. Choose your moments. Step into the light only when the shadows have done their work. There is also a psychological strength to this approach. The man who plays dumb is under no pressure to perform. He has no expectations to meet. This gives him space to observe, to think, to recalibrate. It is the freedom to fail quietly, to experiment without scrutiny, to grow without resistance. It is a private empire being built behind public ignorance. Meanwhile, those who lead with brilliance become prisoners of it. They must constantly prove themselves. They are watched, tested, doubted. Their smallest errors are magnified. Their successes are resented. Their rise is slow and their fall spectacular. But the man who rises under the radar, he moves differently. His progress is quiet. His power, when revealed, is already rooted. And when the time comes to reveal it, there is no contest. The fool who ruled by accident collapses under his own weight, and the man who played dumb steps forward, not to boast but to take control. Because the game is already over. It ended long before the others realized they were playing. To rule the game, you must know when not to play, at least not on the surface, because what appears as absence is often preparation. What looks like ignorance is often design. The man who plays dumb does not reject the game of power. He rewrites its rules behind the curtain. And what does this game demand above all else? Emotional control. For nothing exposes the intelligent more than their frustration. To watch fools rise while wisdom is ignored, to see deception rewarded and truth punished, it provokes the soul. But the wise man swallows this fire. He does not react, he records. He observes without commentary, accepts without resistance. Not because he agrees, but because he is planning. Your intelligence must become quiet. Not because it is weak, but because it is sacred. It is a weapon you refuse to waste on unworthy opponents. Let them laugh. Let them mock your silence, your softness, your seemingly slow pace. Let them believe they are ahead. Their overconfidence is your camouflage. And while they speak, you build. This is how empires are formed, not through explosions, but through erosion. Not through declarations, but through details. Small moves, subtle shifts, invisible influence, until one day, the structure tilts, and everyone looks up, wondering when the balance changed. But it did not change in a day. It changed because someone played dumb long enough to make the real moves without being stopped. Machiavelli knew that in courts filled with pretense, true power belongs to the unseen. He wrote of princes who smile in public while deciding in private, of rulers who flatter with one hand while striking with the other, and of advisors, the quiet men in the second row, who often control the throne more than the king himself. That is your model. You are not the actor on the stage. You are the writer of the script. But even scripts require timing, and the most fatal mistake of the intelligent is impatience. They see the flaws, they see the incompetence, and they want to fix it now. They want to speak, to correct, to set the record straight. But timing is everything. Truth delivered too early becomes noise. Truth delivered at the wrong moment becomes threat. Only when the ground is soft will the seed take root. So play dumb, not forever, but until the moment becomes yours. There is a Latin phrase, festina lente, make haste slowly. It is the rhythm of strategists, the pace of emperors, the walk of men who know they will arrive, not because they run, but because they remove every obstacle before taking a single step. This is not cowardice. This is long-term war. Understand this clearly. In most systems, especially broken ones, immediate action is not rewarded. The man who rushes to solve a problem becomes responsible for it. The man who points out the emperor's nakedness becomes the enemy of the court. But the one who smiles, nods, and waits, he becomes trusted. And when the time comes to replace the emperor, he is already seated at the table. To play dumb is not only a tactic, it is a test of your discipline, a test of your patience, a test of your ability to delay the pleasure of being right in exchange for the victory of being in control. There will be days when your mind screams to correct the foolishness around you. There will be conversations where silence feels like betrayal to your own intelligence. You will want to speak, to teach, to warn, to shine. Resist. Because every time you resist, you grow more powerful. Every time you let others underestimate you, you gain ground. Every time you play the fool while sharpening your thoughts in private, you prepare for the moment they hand you the crown without even knowing it. Remember, a crown is easier to seize when its owner believes you are just there to carry it for him. The man who plays dumb is a thief of influence. He does not demand attention, he absorbs it. He does not attack power, he inherits it. Because he does not come with banners or armies. He comes with a smile, a question, a nod, and by the time others realize what he is, it is already too late. To win without a fight is the highest form of victory, and to achieve that, you must learn to disarm your enemies before they know they are in battle. Playing dumb is the dagger concealed beneath the robe. It is the handshake that precedes the dethroning. It is the art of letting others feel safe while you remove their defenses piece by piece. There is no greater threat to power than a mind it cannot read. The loud man can be predicted, the boastful man can be trapped, but the quiet man, the man who appears naive, uncertain, simple, he is a fog. You cannot grip fog. You cannot stab what you cannot define. So they let you in, they let you close, and when you strike, there is no time to react. This is why the wise man cultivates softness in public. He lets others fill the space. He gives them the illusion of dominance, lets them believe they are the architects of every decision. But in truth, he is the soil, the foundation. Their plans only succeed because he allows them to, and their failure is inevitable because he designed it so. To play dumb is to make others feel brilliant. Let them explain things you already know. Let them repeat their triumphs to you as if you had not seen the cracks forming. Let them seek your approval, unaware that you are judging them with eyes far deeper than they can imagine. Every word they say, every move they make in front of you while you pretend to understand, is a piece of rope they twist around their own ankles. They will call it trust. You will call it leverage. The intelligent man who shows his hand too early becomes a target, but the one who keeps it close, who acts slow, asks questions, nods in agreement, he becomes the confidant, the harmless companion, the one they invite into the room where decisions are made, thinking they are alone. Machiavelli wrote, "It is not titles that honor men, but men that honor titles." And what he meant was simple. Power does not reside in the role, it resides in the person. And sometimes, the person with the greatest power wears no crown. He simply whispers in the right ear. He smiles at the right moment. He leaves the room at the exact second when silence speaks louder than protest. This is the architecture of invisible dominance. And it is built on the foundation of being underestimated. Let others think they've figured you out. Let them label you slow, soft, passive, insecure. The more certain they are of your limits, the more room you have to surpass them undetected. Every misjudgment they make becomes another inch of ground you can claim in silence. But this requires a deep mastery of ego. The man who plays dumb must not need validation. He must not crave the applause of the moment. He must be willing to look small in the eyes of the impatient, to be mistaken for a pawn by those obsessed with spectacle, because he knows what they do not. Power does not always come with applause. It comes with positioning. You must stop needing to prove that you are intelligent. Stop trying to correct every error you see. Stop trying to show the world that you are ahead. Because those who are truly ahead do not need to be seen. They are already steering the ship. Let others seek visibility. You seek control. Let others chase recognition. You chase results. Let others win arguments. You win outcomes. And as the world obsesses over who is right, you quietly become the one who decides what happens next. There will be times when this feels unbearable, when ignorance parades as wisdom, when incompetence commands attention, when you watch those with less insight, lead those with more, and you will want to rise, to shout, to demand recognition. Don't. That is their world, their tempo, their trap. Yours is slower, deeper, inevitable. In every broken system, the true strategist must look like he belongs to it, even as he works to reshape it. You do not storm the walls. You become the architect who repositions the foundation. Quietly, subtly, without resistance, because no one saw the blueprint in your hand. This is how legacies are built. Not with noise, not with flash, but with calm, strategic deception. The illusion of simplicity masking the complexity of your design. Play dumb. Watch everything. Say little. Plan everything. Because the moment they realize who you really are, you will already be in control. There is no power more absolute than the power no one sees coming. To play dumb is to sheath the blade, not because it is dull, but because its silence draws no shields. Those who rule with noise invite challenges. Those who rule through absence, through misdirection, through patience, often rule forever. The longer you are misunderstood, the longer you are free, and freedom is the only condition in which true power can be built. You must understand, perception is the leash by which society controls the intelligent. The world rewards familiarity, not brilliance. It uplifts the agreeable, not the precise. And so the intelligent are forced to choose, explain themselves to death, or be mistaken for something less threatening. Choose the latter, for in being mistaken, you become untouchable. The predator that imitates prey survives longer than the one who bares its teeth too soon. People protect themselves from sharpness, from intensity, from the unsettling clarity of someone who sees through them. But no one protects themselves from the fool. The fool is invited in, the fool is trusted, and the fool, if he is playing a deeper game, becomes the hand that shapes the king's decisions without wearing the crown. Machiavelli understood this well. He lived among flatterers, sycophants, self-declared geniuses who mistook performance for strategy, and he watched them fall, one by one. The loud fell to the quieter, the visible fell to the unseen, and always, the man who moved last, who waited until the dust had cleared and the bodies had fallen, claimed the prize. That man played dumb, until he no longer had to. To play dumb is not to abandon truth, it is to hide it in plain sight. You do not betray your intelligence, you protect it. Like a fire, it must be shielded from the wind of small minds, from the downpour of unearned criticism, from the suffocation of envy. Let your brilliance burn quietly behind your eyes. Let it shape your speech, your silence, your movements, but never give it away freely. Only fools give gold to those who cannot recognize its weight. There will be people who call you coward, people who mock your restraint. Let them. You are not here to prove your courage. You are here to bend the room without lifting your voice. You are here to outlast them. Sometimes, this means letting others win. Let them win the argument, the meeting, the moment. These are crumbs. You are after the throne. And the throne is not taken by shouting louder. It is taken by making others believe it was their idea to hand it to you. You will be told that truth must always be spoken, that honesty is a virtue above all else. But truth is a weapon, not a confession. It must be wielded with intention, not offered as decoration. The man who reveals all he sees is not wise, he is reckless. And the world punishes recklessness swiftly. There is a reason chess masters do not announce their strategy. There is a reason wolves do not howl before the kill. And there is a reason kings are crowned in silence, not in crowds. You must learn to separate what is true from what is useful. Your intelligence is true, but your usefulness is what makes you valuable to others. And in most rooms, usefulness looks like obedience, like simplicity, like loyalty. Give them the version of you they can use, while the real you remains behind the curtain, writing the script. This is not manipulation for the sake of deceit. It is manipulation for the sake of survival. Because if you wish to do anything truly meaningful in this world, you must first stay in it. And staying in it means being tolerated. The world does not tolerate those who see too much, too clearly, too soon. So you must see it all, but show almost nothing. And when the time comes to move, you do not ask for permission. You do not explain. You do not apologize. You simply act. And those who underestimated you will have no idea how it happened, only that they are no longer in control. This is not a game for the weak. It is not a performance for the insecure. Playing dumb requires strength, vision, and emotional precision. It requires the discipline to be misjudged, the patience to delay recognition, the certainty that your silence is not the absence of power, but its preparation. Do not rush. Let others waste their energy trying to be seen. Let them burn themselves into exhaustion trying to prove their worth. You will still be standing, not because you shouted, but because you listened. And when the noise has finally passed, they will look for someone to lead. And you, who once seemed unaware, unready, unworthy, will already have the answers they need. That is the moment you've been preparing for. Most men crave recognition like starving dogs beg for scraps. They mistake attention for respect and noise for significance. But you are not most men. You do not beg for eyes to see you. You wait until the eyes have no choice, until your presence becomes the answer to a question they don't yet know how to ask. This is the final stage of playing dumb, where your silence becomes its own signal, where the absence of your opinion begins to carry more weight than the presence of theirs, where your restraint, long mistaken for ignorance, starts to unsettle the very people who once laughed at your simplicity. They feel it now, the shift, the unease, the quiet man in the corner. who never argued, never shouted, never demanded, but who never left. He's still here, still listening, still watching. And now, he's ready. You see, the longer you withhold your intelligence, the more powerful it becomes when finally revealed. The impact is not linear, it is exponential. A single word from a man who has said nothing carries more force than 100 speeches from the one who never stops talking. People lean in when the quiet man speaks, because they assume rightly that he only speaks when it matters. By now, you've built leverage. Invisible, silent, unacknowledged, but real. You've accumulated alliances others never noticed. You've gathered secrets not through force, but through access. You've let them fill your silence with their weaknesses. And you've stored it all, waiting, not out of fear, but out of principle. Because you understand the simple truth: the man who can wait always controls the one who cannot. Machiavelli understood this dynamic in its rawest form. He saw that the man who acts out of impulse becomes predictable, and the predictable man is easy to outmaneuver. But the man who restrains his reactions, who smiles when others insult him, who stays calm when others rage, becomes unreadable, and the unreadable man becomes untouchable. Let others act, you interpret. Let others react, you prepare. Let others try to win today, you build for 10 years. Because when power comes to you, it will not come as a gift. It will come as the result of endurance, of precision, of self-control, practiced so long, it became second nature. But make no mistake, there is a cost. You will be misjudged, you will be underestimated, you will be spoken over, and sometimes in private it will burn. You will want to correct them, to interrupt, to announce what you know, but you must not. That is the test, not of your intellect, but of your discipline. Because playing dumb is not about pretending to be less. It is about choosing when to be more, and knowing that when that moment comes, it will be final, because you only get one reveal, one strike, one moment where they realize they were wrong about you all along. And when it comes, it must be undeniable, absolute, a revelation so complete that there is no recovery, no retort, only silence. Think now of the great tacticians, the unseen rulers of history. They were never in a hurry, they never fought battles they did not choose, they never argued with men they planned to replace. Their focus was total, their patience unnerving, and when they moved, it was already too late for anyone to stop them. That is who you become when you master this art. You become inevitable. No longer the outsider, no longer the ignored. You become the one they ask for when everything else has failed, the one they turn to when the noise has collapsed under its own weight, the one who held back not because he lacked power, but because he was the only one strong enough not to need it until the right time. And when you speak, you do not need to raise your voice, because they will already be listening. You do not need a crown to rule. You do not need applause to lead. True authority is not given. It is assumed quietly, subtly, and without permission. When you play dumb long enough, when you mask intelligence with patience and cloak foresight in simplicity, the throne begins to move toward you. Not through force, but through fatigue. The noise dies. The strong exhaust themselves. The liars are exposed. And there you stand, calm and ready, having spent your time not performing but preparing. The world respects only what it cannot control, and nothing is harder to control than a man who does not need to be understood. A man who smiles while being underestimated, who gives no reaction when insulted, who appears passive, even dull, yet commands outcomes through invisible strings. That man terrifies those who pretend to rule. By now, you understand what this game has been all along. Not deception for deception's sake, but strategy. The long game, a refusal to be drawn into battles you didn't choose. A disciplined withholding of strength until it matters most. This is not cowardice, it is calculation, it is psychological warfare, and you've played it with the most lethal weapon of all, restraint. The greatest mistake of the intelligent is to assume their brilliance entitles them to immediate influence. It doesn't. In fact, it delays it. Because power is allergic to threat, and visible intelligence, raw and unfiltered, is always a threat to those who sit in positions they did not earn. You've seen it, how capable minds are cast aside while mediocre ones are promoted, how the competent are told to wait while the loud and loyal are ushered forward. This is the reality of broken systems, And if you want to survive them, if you want to outlast them, you must learn the ancient rule: do not stand out too early. Let them think they've won. Let them believe you've accepted your place. Let them keep your name off the list, your hand off the lever. None of it matters, because you're still there, in the room, in the walls, in the minds of those who used to laugh. And while they climb ladders made of borrowed influence, you are building something solid: reputation without exposure, alliances without announcement, power without performance. This is how empires are transferred without bloodshed. The fool exhausts his audience. The fraud collapses under scrutiny. The loud burn out. And when the smoke clears, the one who never shouted is still standing. But now he speaks. And when you speak, you do not explain where you've been. You do not justify your silence. You do not answer to the ones who once dismissed you. Because when the world finally comes knocking, it is not because you asked for recognition. It is because you left no other option. Power respects what it cannot predict. And the man who plays dumb creates the illusion of predictability, only to detonate it at the perfect time. That detonation is not chaos, it is clarity. It is the moment they realize who you are, not the fool, not the follower, but the force that has been shaping the game from the shadows all along. At this stage, you no longer pretend. You don't have to. The game is no longer about hiding your intelligence. It's about directing it with surgical precision. No more restraint, no more smiles that disguise intent. You've waited long enough, and now the stage is set. The players are in position. The system has bent in your direction. Now you move. Not with noise, not with spectacle, but with inevitability. You assume the role others tried to block, not by asking, but by acting. And when you do, the room doesn't resist, because they are already tired of the noise, tired of the incompetence, tired of pretending. And you, the one they ignored, have become the only real option left. That is the reward for playing dumb. It is not applause, it is not validation, it is control. You didn't win because they let you. You won because they never saw you coming. You are not here to be liked. You are not here to be understood. You are here to outlast, to outmaneuver, to build something so enduring it cannot be erased. Let them chase visibility. Let them fight for fleeting attention. You, meanwhile, have become the constant, the one who never left the room, the one whose silence echoed louder than their shouting ever could. This is the final turn, the point where the man who played dumb stands fully revealed, not by his own announcement, but by the collapse of everyone who once stood above him. You didn't argue them out of the way. You didn't beg for their seat. You let the structure fold around them, because that is the cost of noise without foundation. And now you step in, not with urgency, but with calm, because you are always ready. The fool rules loudly and dies forgotten. The strategist rules quietly and becomes immortal. You no longer need to hide your intelligence. You have earned the right to wield it openly, but even now, you do not flaunt it. That would betray everything you've learned. You've seen the cycle. You've watched the brilliant be punished for rushing. You've watched the arrogant fall in love with their own voice and lose the room. And you've watched the world replace them, not with the best, but with the quietest man who held his breath long enough to remain standing. That was you, and you will never forget it. Machiavelli understood the cycle of power. He saw that systems don't reward the most capable, they reward the most adaptive. Intelligence alone is not enough. It must be shaped, sharpened, restrained. Like a blade hidden beneath soft linen, it must never flash too early. But when revealed, it must be undeniable. This is your blade now. Not your words, but your presence. Not your credentials, but your record. You have built quietly. You have moved without announcement. You have planted seeds in every room you entered, while others trampled the soil. And now, you harvest. But do not let success make you loud. The final danger is arrogance. The moment you reveal too much, too often, too eagerly, you invite a new generation of watchers, men and women who saw what you did and begin the same game. If you become too visible, you become the next target. So remain what you have always been, the man they never saw coming. Let your leadership be felt, not flaunted. Let your strategies speak in outcomes, not in explanations. Let your reputation grow in whispers, not in proclamations. That is how legacies are built, quietly, methodically, invisibly, until one day, your name is the answer to questions no one dared ask. And if someone asks how you rose, how you managed to succeed in a world that overlooked men like you, that dismissed your silence, that mocked your patience, just smile. Because the truth is not meant to be shared with everyone. Only a few will understand. The rest will keep playing loud games, and they will lose the same way their predecessors did, by revealing too much too soon to someone who never needed to say a word. Now you know why you had to play dumb. It was never weakness. It was design. It was protection. It was the only way to survive the noise long enough to own the silence. And now, the silence is yours. If you've made it this far, it's because something in you already knows the quiet path is the one with real power. A part of you has realized that being seen is not the same as being in control, and that sometimes the most strategic move is to be underestimated. You've begun to understand, not everyone will applaud your silence, your restraint, your discipline, but that's the price of becoming untouchable. Now tell me in the comments, are you willing to be overlooked, dismissed, even doubted, if it means building something that cannot be destroyed? Are you prepared to be patient, to be invisible, to become inevitable? If this message resonated with you, if you felt seen in its silence, type in the comments, I choose to move in shadows. Let's see how many here are ready to lead without permission. And don't stop now. Watch the next video. It holds more than insight. It holds the next piece of your transformation. I'll see you there.